He's a quarterback who defined a generation, a gunslinger with a chip on his shoulder and an arm touched by the football gods. His journey is a modern-day epic, a story of underdog triumphs, breathtaking throws, and a complicated legacy. This is the story of Aaron Rodgers, from a California kid overlooked by everyone to a Green Bay icon who owned the frozen tundra. Our story begins not under the bright lights of the NFL, but in the quiet town of Chico, California. Aaron Charles Rodgers, born in 1983, was a sports-obsessed kid. Football, basketball, baseball, you name it, he played it. He idolized Joe Montana, mimicking the 49ers legend's every move in his backyard. But while his passion was clear, his path was anything but. Coming out of Pleasant Valley High School, Rodgers was a solid player, but at 5'10" and 165 pounds, he wasn't exactly what you'd call a top-tier Division I prospect. In fact, he received 0 scholarship offers from any D1 schools, not a single one. It was a brutal rejection, a moment that would forge the competitive fire that would later define his career. Imagine being that kid, knowing in your heart you have the talent, but no one else sees it. Instead of giving up, Rodgers enrolled at Butte Community College, a stone's throw from his hometown. It was here, away from the spotlight, that the legend began to brew. In his single season with the Roadrunners, he was simply sensational. He led the team to a 10-1 record and a number 2 national ranking. He put up monster numbers, throwing for over 2,400 yards and 26 touchdowns. His performance was so undeniable that it finally caught the eye of a major college program. Jeff Tedford, the head coach of the University of California, Berkeley, was scouting another player at Butte when he stumbled upon Rodgers. What he saw was a quarterback with a lightning-quick release, uncanny accuracy, and a swagger that couldn't be taught. Cal offered him a scholarship, and just like that, the kid nobody wanted was heading to the Pac-10. At Cal, Rodgers didn't waste any time. He took over as the starter and immediately turned the Golden Bears into a national contender. He was a perfect fit for Tedford's pro-style offense, showcasing the arm talent and football IQ that had been overlooked for so long. In 2004, he led Cal to a 10-1 regular season, a top 5 ranking, and was a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate. They were one controversial Rose Bowl snub away from a perfect season. The world was finally starting to see what those in Chico and Butte already knew. Aaron Rodgers was special. After his junior year, Rodgers declared for the 2005 NFL Draft. He was projected to be a top pick, maybe even the number 1 overall selection, which was held by his childhood team, the San Francisco 49ers. It seemed like a storybook ending. But the draft is rarely a fairy tale. What followed was one of the most infamous and uncomfortable draft day slides in NFL history. The 49ers, in a move that would haunt them for years, selected quarterback Alex Smith with the first pick. And then Rodgers just waited. Team after team, pick after pick, his name wasn't called. The camera zoomed in on him, sitting alone in the green room, the confidence slowly draining from his face, replaced by a look of disbelief and frustration. For hours, he waited. Finally, with the 24th overall pick, his phone rang. The Green Bay Packers were on the line. The small market team from Wisconsin, a franchise steeped in history, had just selected their quarterback of the future. But there was one big problem. They already had a quarterback of the present, a living legend named Brett Favre. So the overlooked kid from Chico became the understudy to an icon. For 3 seasons, Rodgers sat on the bench, holding a clipboard, watching and learning. It was a difficult, humbling experience. He was a top talent, ready to play, but he had to bide his time behind a first-ballot Hall of Famer who had no intention of giving up his throne. The relationship between Rodgers and Favre was famously frosty. It wasn't a mentorship, it was a competition. A cold war played out in the media and the locker room. These years in quarterback purgatory, however, were crucial. Rodgers didn't just sit, he studied. He mastered the complex West Coast offense. He worked on his mechanics, refined his footwork, and added muscle to his frame. He absorbed everything, preparing for the moment his number would be called. That chip on his shoulder, already sizable from his recruiting and draft experiences, grew into a boulder. Then came the messy, dramatic unretirement of Brett Favre in the summer of 2008. The soap opera ended with Favre being traded to the New York Jets, and the keys to the kingdom were finally handed to Aaron Rodgers. The pressure was immense. He wasn't just replacing a quarterback, he was replacing an institution, the face of the franchise for 16 years. Many fans were skeptical. Could this unproven kid from California really fill those massive shoes? Rodgers answered that question with a resounding yes. In his very first season as a starter, he threw for over 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns. He showed flashes of brilliance, the mobility, the arm strength, and a command of the offense that silenced many of his doubters. He wasn't Brett Favre. He was more calculated, more efficient, and less of a gambler. He was Aaron Rodgers. The next couple of years were about growth and building chemistry, with a young and talented receiving corps featuring names like Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, and James Jones. By the 2010 season, all the pieces were in place. The Packers finished the regular season with a 10-6 record, sneaking into the playoffs as the number 6 seed in the NFC. Nobody gave them much of a chance. They were the ultimate underdogs, forced to win 3 straight road playoff games just to get to the Super Bowl. But this is where the legend of Aaron Rodgers was truly cemented. He was flawless, a surgeon on the field, carving up defenses in Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Chicago. His performance against the top-seeded Falcons was a masterpiece, one of the greatest single-game playoff performances by a quarterback in NFL history. And then came Super Bowl 45 against the formidable Pittsburgh Steelers. On the biggest stage in sports, Rodgers was cool, calm, and collected. He delivered a performance for the ages, throwing for 304 yards and 3 touchdowns with no interceptions. He made pinpoint throws under pressure, leading his team with the poise of a seasoned veteran. When the final whistle blew, the Green Bay Packers were world champions, and Aaron Rodgers was the Super Bowl MVP. The kid who couldn't get a D1 scholarship, the guy who waited for hours in the green room, had reached the pinnacle of his sport. He had brought the Lombardi Trophy back to Titletown, stepping out of Favre's shadow and casting a massive one of his own. The Super Bowl victory was just the beginning of his reign. The following season, in 2011, Rodgers put together arguably the single greatest season a quarterback has ever had. He was simply unstoppable. He led the Packers to a 15-1 record, throwing for 45 touchdowns against only 6 interceptions, and posted a passer rating of 122.5, a new NFL record. He was named the NFL's most valuable player, an award he would win 3 more times in his career, in 2014, 2020, and 2021. For over a decade, Rodgers was the heart and soul of Green Bay. His name became synonymous with incredible plays. The Hail Mary, a desperation heave that he turned into an art form, completing it time and time again in impossible situations. His ability to extend plays with his legs, dancing in the pocket before delivering a perfect strike 50 yards downfield. And of course, the free play, using his hard count to draw defenses offside, giving him a penalty-free shot at a big play. When Rodgers was on the field, you never felt like the Packers were out of a game. He wasn't just a player, he was an icon in Green Bay. The championship belt celebration, later known as the discount double check, became famous worldwide. He connected with the city and its passionate fan base, understanding the unique bond between the team and the community. For a generation of Packers fans, number 12 was their quarterback, their leader, their hero. Of course, the journey wasn't without its disappointments. Despite his individual brilliance and 4 MVP awards, Rodgers was only able to lead the Packers to that one Super Bowl. They suffered a string of heartbreaking playoff losses, often in the NFC Championship game, creating a narrative of postseason shortcomings that would follow him. His relationships with coaches and the front office were often complex and publicly scrutinized. He was known for being demanding, an intellectual who wanted to be involved in the game planning and personnel decisions. This sometimes led to friction, culminating in a dramatic off-season standoff in 2021 that nearly ended his time in Green Bay. But even through the drama, his performance on the field rarely wavered. He remained one of the most efficient, talented, and feared quarterbacks in the league, a master of his craft. From the kid, nobody wanted to a first-ballot Hall of Famer. From an unknown at Butte College to a Super Bowl MVP. Aaron Rodgers' story is a testament to self-belief, perseverance, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. He proved that it doesn't matter where you start. It matters how you rise. He wasn't just a Packer. He became an inseparable part of Green Bay's legendary fabric, an icon on the frozen tundra. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of legendary athletes.